a little bit of a hot topic. And I don't mean that in just it's being discussed. I mean the fact that there is a lot of kind of bitter debate about it. Now, the point of this video is not really me going to be taking a side, but more of education. What is a GA? Where does it come from? Why is it necessary? Why is it happening? And several other things. And I'll let you make your own mind about it here. So, first off, let me start with the Gentleman's Agreement. Usually kind of removes some stuff from the game that isn't in the official rule set. And is usually debated by the pros. Now, some people like it, some people don't. Some people are very unhappy with it. And the reason that they're unhappy with it is because it's pros basically just making up their own rules outside of the official rules. Now, you can sometimes sympathize why this happens. And let me explain why and the history of rule sets in Call of Duty. Now, one thing you really have to bear in mind is that Call of Duty is a very unique esport. And I am going to do a video on why it's so unique, but let's get down to one of these points here. We have a game every year. Every year. There is a new game, new mechanics, new guns, new rules, new everything. Doesn't happen in any other esport. Just doesn't. This actually makes our season from the first tournament to champs actually quite short. Something in the range of 10 months. 10 months. That's it. That's all we get. This means that if we are to change anything, it has to be debated, it has to go back and forth, and sometimes it doesn't always turn around very quickly. Meaning that pros will sometimes GA something just off the bat very, very quickly until it either gets patched, nerfed, whatever needs to happen when it comes back. So, in my mind, GAs, that's a good reason to have them, right? It allows the pro scene to maybe take something out that's causing, let's say, frustration or some issues, or they think it's lowering the skill curve, or it's probably going to make it unentertaining to play. The pros will GA something for that reason. Sometimes this means the rule set will then catch up and we go into and go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's all good. Sometimes we'll GA until a patch comes in, then it'll be reversed. The GA will come off and do it. So it's almost, if you think it was almost like two kind of stopgaps, that's the way I sometimes see it. Now, I don't always agree with it, but there is the CWL rule set, which everybody plays by. It's all in the same field. And the GA is like a, it's like a little bit you just put on top. It's like, oh, okay, let's do that. But that should be removed. Something shouldn't be permanently GA'd. I don't think that's usually the case, right? It should be, well, what is it? How long is it going to take to be patched? When do we get it in and out? Because it's easier to not switch the main CWL rule set and then have release a new rule set quite frequently, especially for the casual players. So the pros sometimes just add and take things in or out, and a lot of people don't play with it outside of the pro leagues, and some people do. So for me, you know, gentlemen's agreements, they're almost seem like a dirty word, right? It's a dirty word, gentleman's agreement, because some people really just, they hate it. They hate everything about it. And the reason that this debate sparked up, right, is because people are thinking the pros are going too far. They're trying to GA everything. Oh, this isn't good. That isn't good. This isn't good. Now, I understand this, right, because there is something called confirmation bias. And if somebody tells you something is true and everybody else is saying it's true, you're probably going to start thinking along that line as well. So it's sometimes difficult for the pros in their bubble world to figure out whether or not they should actually be GAing something. And sometimes it is a little bit of, oh, that's got to go, that's horrific. They put something online and they'll just be like, oh, this is ridiculous. But GA is becoming less and less relevant for several reasons. The CWL has actually been really, really good this year in terms of updating its rules and even further changing patch notes. Like, we've seen patches come through thick and fast. We've actually seen more patches in this last year and the year before that probably than we have in the entire rest of the history of Call of Duty esports. They're really on the ball with trying to get things right. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes going to stay out of it. But this kind of reminds me of a period back in history, so come with me back all the way to Black Ops 1. Now, if you weren't around in Black Ops 1, and I can't imagine that's an awful lot of you here, there were actually two separate rule sets. This is before Activision were directly involved for a lot of it. MWG had one rule set for America, and Tixerdo had another rule set for Europe. Now, my personal opinion, the European rule set was better, and that was actually a player-dictated rule set completely. There was a secret council, if you can believe, whereas the MLG rule set was very different. Now, main difference between the two was the removal of guns. I think it was the AUG, I can't always remember, and the FAMAS. So the Americans all played with FAMASes, and there was like 4 times FAMAS versus 4 times FAMAS. Whereas Europe, those were gone, which means we had things like the M16, the AK, the AKU, and the MP5. Now, interestingly enough, it's the AKU I want to focus on here, because it kind of highlights the way our rule set works in general. So, in Europe, in Black Ops 1, the AKU was removed from rotation very quickly in our rule set. It was deemed too powerful, it was too good to be used, and was kind of starting to narrowing everyone down to using just that. So that left about 2-3 months into the game. It ended up being patched and then got brought back in because it was actually fair. It wasn't so much of a laser, so people brought it back in. So you can see that, you know, that's how it basically works. If something's bad, you take it out. It's like, all right, we need to fix this, put it back in. It's all good. Now, you don't want to do that too much. Like I said, there's been a lot of changes going on. We've had a full mechanic change in the way that the divisions work in Call of Duty. We've had, you know, multiple patches. We've had many different metas going on. So there's a lot of things going around here. So for me, the CWL rule set, you know, it's trying to keep that even line. We don't want to change it, you know, every day. Whereas the GA is a little bit more flexible here. So I think that's the only real benefit to a GA that I can see. Yes, it alienates some casuals because they're like, why are you playing with this? This is ridiculous. But at the same time, it's able to be more flexible because the pros go, look, we don't really want to play with this against you guys. We don't think it's competitive. We don't like playing against it. It's not fun. Can we just, you know, not play with it against you and we'll see how it goes? And the other team goes, yeah, we kind of see it the same way. All good. This goes up. Obviously, we know it's happening. The CWL then is like, okay, well, we don't want to change it because a lot of our players are still playing with it and it doesn't seem to change it because we're going to patch it soon anyway. Patch comes in, all gets reversed, all good. So I thought it was an interesting topic on how our rule sets work. And like I said, it's such a short time frame, right? It's so short, 10 months. There are, and bearing in mind, 4 months of that is Pro League. Just Pro League, just bang, just there. 6 months, and then you got all these tournaments, you got the run up to champs. It's kind of insane, like how quick everything turns over here. So, on the one hand, yes, gentlemen's agreements are, you know, sometimes it's not the worst thing in the world, and other times, yes, pros can go too far. I think you have to really look at it and playtest something an awful lot for it to be recommended. But in my mind, you know, the best thing about this is that Activision and MLG, they have been very, very quick to turn things around this year, I feel. Like, they have listened to feedback. The patches are coming in so thick and fast. It's better than it's ever been. And for me, you know, I just thought it was interesting to kind of educate people on, you know, maybe the reasons behind some of this stuff, maybe the viewpoints, the different viewpoints on how rules are made and how they're implemented and why that this is being done and why people are arguing over it over Twitter. Because I see some people not really understanding a lot of it. And I think that's the reason that people get contentious with it and people get a bit argumentative and intense about this. When realistically, you just got to hope that everything is going to go well. And right now, you know, I think it's in a pretty good state. You know, I think a lot of people are saying, well, oh, the meta could be this or the meta could be that. The meta is always going to be changing, right? As soon as one team gets better at something or finds something else, we end up. I still hold firm to my belief that the longer stuff goes on, the more SMGs we see on the map because teams are playing faster and pressure becomes more and more important, and it gets faster and furious, and we see that happen an awful lot. But that's basically what this video was about. I didn't want to go on too much. This wasn't a ranting sort of thing. This was just I wanted to educate some people. I want to see people's opinion on gentlemen's agreements. I think we have a lot of time to kind of look at it objectively more than anything else, right? You've got to look at this objectively. Look at the sides of the arguments. What's good, what's bad. Don't become kind of contained in one way of thinking. So, yeah, I just wanted to make the video and see what people thought. You know, I thought it was a good time to kind of discuss this in a little light rather than 140 characters or 280 or whatever it now is. Well, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.